What is up, YouTube? Lofton TCG here yet again with another top 8 deck profile from this previous weekend. I traveled all the way down south to Louisville, Kentucky to play yet again branded tiers. Yes, I know, what a surprise. This branded cards must be my thing or something. In the video today, I'm going to kind of discuss my favorite aspects of the deck a little more than I did last week, just because the deck has just been having an overwhelming success rate in my personal opinion. I will be taking it to the Indy Regional again here in 2 weeks. I do have a weekend off finally. Traveling definitely gets the best of, anybody, honestly, on this regional grind, as we are trying to get as many points as we can for World's points. So, without further ado, let's just get into it. Alright guys, and let's quickly go over the rounds that I did have. So it was an 8-round regional, only 173 players. Nothing I could do about that, obviously. 24 invites were handed out. Round 1 I played against Marincess. I ended up winning that 2-1. Round 2 was Sprite. Round 3 was Exo Sister. I have never played against that deck before. I've never even read those cards, so that was a surprise to me, but Super Poly was apparently an insane card against that deck. Round 4, I had to play against Tears. Round 5, I had to play against Sprite. Round 6 was another Exo Sister. I won that 2-1. I did almost lose that. That was an interesting match, honestly. But again, I actually ended up double Super Polying this guy to clutch that. Round 7 was Sprite. That was actually against my boy Charlie. It's just so different when you play a friend, especially since we were the only undefeateds at round 7. And everybody, I think the table next to us, table 2, they were XO1. So, I mean, in a perfect world, the tournament ends at round 7 after the winner of Charlie and I, and one of us gets first, one of us gets second, but whatever. And then round 8 was Sprite. It was a 1-1. I actually tied with them. He punted game 1. And then there was about a minute 40 left, so I scooped game 2, trying to get into game 3, and this dude just made no effort to try to side to get into game 3. So it was a tie. I ended up getting 7th, going 6-1-1. So here's the list. Let's go. Triple Aluber, still the same. Double Tragedy, we cut down to 2 of this bad boy, and 1 ad libitum. It was actually quite funny that I cut down to 2 Tragedy, because I do love this card, do love milling this card. But I think I got everything done. Like, looking back, I think I got everything done last week that I needed with Double Tragedy, and I went with that today, and it paid off. There were 2 games I opened Double Tragedy, and I don't think I lost those games, but just knowing I now have all Tragedies in my hand wasn't the greatest, but... and then Double Albaz, I considered cutting this to 1 just to play a couple other cards, but again, just can't imagine it. And then my favorite tier monster is Sheeran. Sheeran doubles with obviously all the other tier monsters, but more importantly the Tragedy. So you just activate the Sheeran, discard the Tragedy, continue to mill your 3, and then if you hit something, whatever, build your chain links correctly, but you trigger your Tragedy to search your Aluber, normal summon your Aluber, get to your branded fusion. It's essentially just honestly the best play that this deck can start with. The Triple Happiness, the Hand Trap, because this is a blind going second deck, so we obviously want to maximize on the tiers that give us a higher chance of playing when it is optimal for us. And then the Double Merly and the 1 Rhino Heart. So the tier lineup stayed exactly the same as last weekend. I had no complaints with it. Again, Rhino Heart is not the heart and soul of the deck, ironically enough. And it's just kind of like that guarantee I'm going to be able to dump a tier monster in the graveyard to get a guaranteed fusion summon out. And then I cut down to 2 King of the Swamps. I just felt like 3 is just so much. Like, it's just really a vanilla card that doesn't do anything other than just offer itself as fusion material in the graveyard. Like, grabbing the polymerization is good, it's fine, and it comes up. But, like, this isn't, like, a card that this isn't really a card I want to see in my hand. And it's not a card that's bad when it's not in my hand. So, I think the ratio of 2 of this card is absolutely correct. And then, the spells, triple branded fusion. And triple opening. Opening, obviously discarding the tier monsters to get to an Aluber. Chain Link 1 Aluber, Chain Link 2 tier monster. Shuffle back in to make a fusion, and then resolve to grab your branded fusion. It's super good because then you get to follow up with a branded fusion and send another tier monster and just, continue popping off. And then double branded in red. I just can't see myself cutting this card to 1. I thought about it actually last night before the event. And I just, no scenario was coming up that I could logically think of like, man, I'm just glad there's one branded red in my deck. So, we did cut the branded lost though. Like I said last week, I started to see the non-practicality of the specific card, and I didn't miss it today. So I think that card has weeded itself out. Triple field spell. This card is really good. Play this card at 3. I don't think the deck can be played without 3 of this. I mean, you're really doing yourself a disservice by not playing 3 of this card in this deck. I understand this has a high price tag on it right now, and not everybody can afford 3. But what this card offers this deck is really just not up for debate. It's this card feels like you're just so far ahead at all points in time if this card's on the field. It just is. And now the blowout cards, what makes this deck absolutely insane. The triple super poly, the triple forbidden droplet, the triple dark ruler no more, and then the 3 cards that I changed this week is I went up to triple tactics. 3 triple tactics talents. 3 TTTT. This card didn't come up too much for me because I actually didn't have this card way too much. I think I resolved this card twice, and I saw it 3 times. One time I didn't get to resolve it because I had Dark Ruler no more and they had no hand traps, and I just had this card. So I was like, I shut their board off, and they're not stopping me anyway. Definitely a good card in a fusion based deck. Having a card that has 3 different options or 3 different effects is really good, because your tree line of play when it comes to a deck that involves milling random cards from the top of your deck to the graveyard to see what your next play can be. A card that's flexible like this will definitely just raise the ceiling of the deck. So it was a card I thought of last week, but I had absolutely no testing with it whatsoever, and I still had no testing with it this week, but I just kind of looked at this as an opportunity to do the testing myself. This was going to be infinite impermanence just to have another go second card, but I just think tactics in theory and actually in practicality just has more applications for a fusion based deck. And then I stuck with the double galaxy cyclones. Card is very good. Then the one-ofs foolish, instant fusion, terraforming, polymerization, called by the grave, and the one-of Sully. I don't think I negated anything. I just use this to search stuff. So when it gets milled, this will probably be the next card that gets worked out of this deck. Although at the same time, this card is just extremely busted. I think personally for me, since this is a blind second, this deck using the trap card doesn't have as much practicality as it would if I planned on going first. The card's busted. The card's insane. It's just going second. They already have things set up, and it would be more of I've established to kind of break your board a little bit, and now I'm putting this card. Now I'm searching this card for my combo, and I'm just going to kind of lock you out a little more. Most of the times when that happens, their resources are just already whittled anyway, so it's kind of like I never really am looking for this card. But again, let's reiterate, this is definitely the best trap card, and it is busted. And even 50. Here we go. Oh, this is my field center for this week. Yes, my field center is this. This is my field center. We played the 1 kit and the 1 Kaleido still. We did the 1 Querterus, and I actually changed to a Proskinian. Proskinian came up today because when you lose your Lubellion, or Lubellions just get stuck on field or whatever, and you have a tier monster. Lubellion acts as the light monster, and you just shuffle Lubellion back in with the tier as the dark monster and a Despia monster to make this, and you just yoink an elf, or you just yoink a toad, or whatever else they have. And the Masquerade. Again, wish I could go to 2 of this card. Super good. Mirror Jade, Lubellion. We stuck with the double Albion this weekend, but we cut the Lanatus. I didn't really get into Mirror Jade too often this weekend. There was no insane crazy looping plays that were going on. I kind of just played the deck really straight up at what it was this weekend. And then I stuck with double Chimera because we played the double Brandon in red. The point of the deck is to apply as much pressure as possible. It's a going second deck, so starting your turn with Havness on board, and then you even having Polymerization in hand already, or King of the Swamping into Polymerization, and just being able to poly with the monster on board already. And I mean, this is why this card. That's why this card's at 2. And then the Dragostapelia, the Millenniumized Restrict, Garura, and Mud Dragon of the Swamp. I added the Mud Dragon at the last minute. Charlie told me he thinks I should play it, and I said, you know what, whatever. I summoned it once for no real reason, honestly. I just had to get my monsters out of the graveyard, and this is the only generic thing that I could have made at the time. But I did Super Poly an Exo Sister board to make this. So that came up, and then I did have an opportunity to Super Poly a Griffin and a Baron, but I needed to Super Poly the Sprite Link and the red to make this because I had Droplet. So in that case, when I Super Polyed those, I Dropleted to send this away to give myself a monster to make sure they couldn't respond, and I could draw a card. It was just better than what Mud Dragon would be because I needed the extra card for that situation. And then this side deck stayed exactly the same, but we'll go over it one more time. Triple DD Crow, Double Twin Twister, Triple Trap Trick, Triple Erad, Triple Deck Devi, and Red Reboot. I just think I go for a heavy trap lineup because when I win the die roll and I tell my opponent to go first, they should automatically assume, like, okay, this guy built his deck to go second. So with that in mind, moving into game 2 and 3s, opponents generally feel like I still want to go second, but with having cards like these 9 to go first, to be able to operate going first, I'm never really at a disadvantage. So building your deck to go second, but having side cards that help you go first, and vice versa, obviously. I mean, like, vice versa is generally what people build their decks to do anyway. They build their deck to go first, and they side going second cards. Just because that's kind of the social norm of kind of where the direction of Yu-Gi-Oh's went. But it also applies going backwards. This was a little bit longer of a video, guys, so I do apologize, but I thank you guys for sticking around. You guys have been really interactive with the channel. Shout out to Team Skiing. Always, do whatever it takes. You just gotta get there. You gotta get there. I've got really nothing else to say. I hope to see you guys in Indianapolis the next couple of weeks. Looking for a back-to-back-to-back performance because this deck is. I just think this deck is absolutely insane. I think the practicality of the deck is unmatched, and it's something that I really just haven't seen before. So I just don't want to make it a 20-minute video. So thank you guys. Next time.